welcome to So Farscape,
a fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan
and a fresh-faced first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay, and this is
The Story So Farscape, where we have our bright-eyed, bushy-tailed science jock sucked through a wormhole in some distant part of the universe onto a ship.
Living ship.
Very good.
Yeah.
With some strange alien life forms, such as...
In this episode, I think Rigel is one of the most prominent characters. Our little Muppet alien, a dominar of 60 billion subjects.
One day you'll get the number right. I believe in you.
Ruler of the Hynerian Empire. The big Luxon warrior, Dargo, or Tentacles as we like to call him.
Yes.
And of course, a beautiful Zahn.
The serene blue priestess, former priestess.
Not quite so serene anymore either.
No, she's had a bit of a lapse, hasn't she?
She does still manage to be the ship's counselor whenever it's needed. And of course, the peacekeeper gone rogue, Erin.
And Pilot and Moya completing the...
Well, we started with Moya.
Oh, yes, of course. No, she is, of course, now pregnant.
Yes.
Which has resulted in quite a few problems.
This episode as well.
Yes. This episode that we're going to discuss today is...
114, Jeremiah Crichton, in which, seemingly abandoned after crash landing on a planet, Crichton starts a peaceful life alongside inhabitants once ruled by the Hynerians. He unintentionally becomes involved in a power struggle which puts his life in danger.
Directed by Ian Watson. He's done some work before. Written by Douglas Hayes Jr., who I think... his only other credit is Till the Blood Runs Clear. That's with the Volcarian blood trackers.
It was a few episodes ago, right, yes, when they were hunting him. And
yeah, also an exciting one. That first aired on Friday, the 30th of July, 1999.
Yes, and also in 1999, as we step into the So Far Back machine, was...
branding is important. It's very important.
I know.
Legal department insists.
So I know we normally go for something in the science fiction and fantasy genre, but
yeah, that's our bailiwick.
Yeah, but I thought that since Rigel is playing such a prominent part in this episode, I would go for something else that also came out in 1999. One of my favorite food TV shows, Good Eats by Alton Brown.
Ah, yes. Now, Alton Brown, is he the sort of culinary, scientist wizard with the molecular... Yeah?
Well, not necessarily the molecular concept, but his thing is all about... He's got, elaborate props which he uses to describe the things that's going on in food. And he does very much... he does always a very good background explanation of how things in food work and why you are doing them. He's also known for the American version of Iron Chef.
All right.
And in more recent years, Cutthroat Kitchen.
Alton Brown is a famous chef, like a Michelin star?
I don't think so, no. I think he's just one of those TV personality chefs.
Yeah.
Of course, a great cook. He's the one who is very much against having unitaskers in your kitchen. He says there should only be one item in your kitchen which only does one thing, and that's the fire extinguisher.
Very good. And everything else should have multiple purposes.
Yes.
So it's like his cutlery drawer. It must be all sporks and knorks and knoons.
Yes, and lots of knives. But yeah, you shouldn't have a cucumber peeler if it only...
Or a quail debeaker.
Exactly. Those are the kind of the tools that have no place in the kitchen.
I wonder if he has a cutlery drawer with the sort of space cutlery that we've seen in Farscape so far.
Oh, we haven't seen very much cutlery, have we?
It starts with the two-tined fork in the premiere episode, where I believe they just got that from IKEA and then welded one of the tines off in order to make it look like extra spacey.
But historically speaking, forks started off as only having two tines.
Well,
it's only later that they started adding more for better stabbing purposes, I suppose.
It is just like a prong, just like a bident to start with.
It's a double prong, because if you have one prong, then your food will rotate around it. So you put a second one next to it, so you can actually stick it into something and then lift it up without it starting to spin around the single prong.
And you can slit the knife through if you're cutting your vegetables or meat or whatever.
That would be an option as well.
Stick a fork in him. He's done. He's over. The fat lady is singing.
Although, okay, so they made a whole point. I know that we're talking about the first episode now, but just I got to get this off. They made this whole point of hiding this cutlery that they were using. That's how John and Erin escaped when they were prisoners of the prisoners themselves. But they ate food cubes with their hands. They eat everything with their hands. They sat there popping food into the... So what was the cutlery for?
I don't know. Maybe in case there was going to be proper food around. I mean, prisoners probably only get the slops. Usually it's only a bowl of gruel and a spoon.
Not in Alton Brown's kitchen, because a spoon is a unitasker, so it has to be a foon or a knork.
Oh, no, you can use things...
Or a knoon. Sorry, that's the one. There's a whole Venn diagram you can make
there
around that.
There is. The one in the middle is really confusing and almost impossible to pronounce too.
Yeah, what does it do?
Yeah, everything apparently. Not very well though.
Everything, but very badly.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of not working very well at anything, that's the condition that we find our heroes in as we begin episode 114, Jeremiah Crichton.
Yes, it's Crichton and Tentacles somewhere deep in the bowels of Moya. Literally so, apparently so, because occasionally a bit of noxious gas escapes, and as they're trying to fix a blockage, I suppose.
Yes, there's some build-up in her amniox system.
Now give that amniox a bit of a twist, will you?
That sounds reproductive to
right,
me.
Yeah,
but
you've got the amniotic sac, which is like what the baby is generally held in. So that seems to be makes sense. There's a pressure build-up, and they're trying to fix it. And
speaking of pressure build-up,
yes, John is extremely moody. It starts off with him going like, "It's not always my fault," and
why is it always my fault?
Yep. Dargo says, "It's not always your fault. It's just
almost always your fault," which
So-
is a choice quote that I'm going to get a lot of mileage out of for the rest of my life. It's right up there with
The imperfection is yours.
Oh, yes, that's a very snarky one, too. So he basically stalks off, and I noticed that it was like lots of weird, metallic, hollow sounds. It was like definitely a very different sound that you normally have to Moya.
That's a very good point, because normally on Moya, it's all very bubbly and churny.
Yeah, it's like metallic and gong sounds and like clanking noises, which you normally don't hear.
So maybe that, like, the Leviathan reproductive system is the more mechanoid part of the biomechanoid.
I would suppose so. The baby ship needs to be constructed as well, I suppose, unless she has a organic 3D printing system.
I mean, the first time that we see the fetus, and then it's presumably just brand new. It's already pretty big, and it's encased in
the
some
size
kind
of a mini,
of...
or so. That would probably be the amniotic environment.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, John stalks off, gets intercepted by Zahn, who starts to do her little, "Oh, is everything all right with you?"
Yeah, she was just like hovering on standby. It's like she was just standing in the middle of a hallway, just waiting for someone to have a psychological issue for her to empathize with. What a convenient thing to have.
Although she antagonizes him a bit more, even because he said, "I'm fed up with it," and she immediately starts going into, "Oh, are you?" And he goes, "Don't. It was funny the first 10,000 times, but it's not anymore."
I'm sorry, is this going to be another translator micro hiccup? Oh, John, you're fed up. Does that mean that you've had too many food cubes today? It was cute. It was vaguely amusing the first 6 billion times.
Okay, so in my first viewing of this, way back when, I thought that John was being really unreasonable. Mm-hmm. But, like, thinking about it some more, okay, they all have these translator microbes. This must happen all the time. So...
You'd think so, yes.
Her going, "Oh, you just said something unusual."
Fed up.
Was that condescending this whole time?
Right. Or
was she doing that for his benefit?
Maybe, I don't know.
To sort of gradually teach him, "Oh, no.
Don't use idiom when you're talking to aliens.
Don't use idiom. You did it wrong again." Like, we all learned that in school. When you're talking to aliens, you say things literally. You don't go, "Look at Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra."
I suppose that makes sense, yes. So he goes to put on his non-spacesuit uniform, like
non-NASA, non-spacesuit.
it's meant to look like one of those orange flight suits, but it's clearly not, because it's just got a zipper and a collar, and
yes,
it's like
it's no pressure control.
The helmet doesn't attach to the suit, so
a football helmet. Oh, I remember listening to the audio commentary for. Actually, it was this episode where they really let loose. Oh, it's fantastic. And one day when you're older, I'll let you listen to it, but you have some growing up to do because it was actually recorded after the 4th season.
Oh, that's a long way back. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Ben Browder and Claudia Black and Rockne S. O'Bannon, the creator of the show, and David Kemper. And one of the things that they talk about once they get in the mood of bitching about this episode is also like the opening shot of the credits, which sees him with this not very good helmet. Like Rockne S. O'Bannon and David Kemper were the producer and creator, but they weren't like directing the episode or directly involved in that. So they got their first tape of their new show that they'd helped birth into life, and they saw this image of a dude in a zip-up like tracksuit sitting in a plastic module with a football helmet. They got, "This isn't it, is it? That's not a space helmet."
That's seriously.
And Ben Browder as well, but like it was his second day on set. He's not going to rock the boat. "This isn't it, is it? Well, everybody says that this is it. Okay,
here we go." They must have really trusted that little shuttle for the construction. I mean, to be fair, it has held up very well to all the punishment it's been getting so far.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been sucked through a wormhole, snapped up by the docking web, was crashed into,
and it's officially out of fuel now.
No, you don't have to worry about that. That was the last of my fuel. Totally dependent on your technology now.
It's not my technology, it's Leviathan technology.
Dargo, I don't give a rat's ass what you want to call it. It's your end of the universe, it's your technology.
They burned off the last of his fuel, and he's now completely reliant on Moya's power system. I guess they've modified it. It was in the other episode where he was.
Also written by Douglas H. Jr.
Yes, I guess he wanted a little bit of reference back to his own. Yeah.
I noticed that as well previously, where there was another, I forget who the author was. She did IET and then came back later for, was it PK Tech Girl?
Probably.
I'm doing this off the top of my head. But you had the same little bits of continuity there. No, they've got a secret, because IET started off with the Paddock beacon, a leftover bit of Peacekeeper technology, and then they've got a secret, started off with them sweeping the ship for more leftover bits of Peacekeeper technology.
So that's like just the directors bringing it back, the little things that they've inserted into it, and look, it's still relevant. But he decides to take his little module out for a buzz and blow off a little bit of steam. And he just goes zooming around Moya. We get some gorgeous shots of Moya as she's floating around in space, and he is buzzing past her in his little drag race module.
Just blowing off, not literally steam because he's out of propellant, but whatever his propulsors eject.
Of course, at that point, the blockage gets a little bit too much. Moya gets in distress and initiates a starburst.
Yes, she needs to decompensate, and Rigel seems to know what that means. Oh, no.
Right.
Decompensating. Oh, no. That means she's going to...
Prepare for immediate starburst.
And I know that
he hates starburst.
I know that he hates starburst, but he does not know a lot about starship operations, so is that just how he responds to everything?
Maybe.
Moya receives a distress call. Oh, no, that means starburst. No, it doesn't, Rigel.
He's right this time, though.
Yes,
and we see this beautiful starburst effect, which the wash of it catches Crichton's module, but doesn't suck him through like it did with Erin's ship back in the day.
Yeah, because she was caught in the backwash and she was sucked along.
One prowler traveled with us.
Bucket's radio, net it, and bring it aboard.
As good as done.
I guess that it happens because Crichton was moving front to back and Erin was trying to catch up with them at the time. So let's call it that. Let's say that was the reason.
Dancing and he crossed the sort of energy membrane in the wrong direction, so he couldn't be sacked along.
And the ship is gone, and he is like,
You guys are bugging out on me?
I hate starburst.
they left me?
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Oh, God, I am a dead man.
And and that's a really good point to go to the credits because, what are you going to do? It's a dinky little ship. It doesn't have, what's it called? Their FTL hatch drive.
Yes.
Like, Starburst is unique to Leviathans, and everybody else uses hatch drive to get from place to place, but it doesn't even have that, said Furlow.
No, I mean, it's just like an interatmospheric module. More than that, it's not really is. But apparently, he manages to find something inhabitable because after the credits, it opens with a lovely shot of a ringed planet or moon. I don't know which one it is, and a gorgeous, lush green planet with Crichton lying on the back of his module, waiting for his fishing contraption to start producing some food.
What an incredible image this was. Like, I've talked about in IET how, like, the crash landing into the swamp was an image that really stuck with me. And so was this. So he's taken his jumpsuit khakis and he's made cut-offs of them. He's barefoot, bare-chested.
He's got a little tent and he's got the module.
A little hobo tent,
Got the module parked on the edge of the lake, which really makes me wonder how he landed it there. Because he's got the landing gear out, so he clearly didn't skim the water and get it on the edge. So unless it has some sort of vertical landing capability, which I guess it might have thanks to Moises. But even then, why would you park it right on the edge of the water with the wheels in the mud?
Let's think about this for a second, because we find out later in the episode that there is a negative energy vortex that sucks power of anything that arrives. So probably his last ascent would have been unpowered, much as Dargo's is when he arrives later. Yeah. But his craft is more aerodynamic. It could have probably glided. Let's see. He would have gone safety. He would have gone for a water landing.
True, but then you wouldn't put the landing gear out.
No, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking he made a water landing, and maybe his craft can float.
Yeah.
And then it was just a matter of like towing it to the coast, using it as a boat.
You're playing good cop this time round, aren't you?
Wow. Yes. Well, we're going to have to talk about that because, so did you like this episode in total? We're going to have to clear this up.
I did. I was entertained by it.
Okay, so then I'm going to have to play bad cop because this is a very divisive no. It is a very unifying episode. Unifying in that it is almost universally
disliked.
Disliked, yeah.
Oh,
it
wow.
is not a beloved episode.
I mean, it wasn't very exciting, and it did have a lot of the Star Trek trope of the big reset button at the end of it, because at the end of it, everything goes back to the way
back
it was.
to normal, yeah.
So it has literally no effect on the story other than some character development, I guess.
There are many like skip it or watch it or must see lists out there to help people like condense their episode binging. This is always on the skip lists.
But it wasn't a bad episode. It was fairly entertaining for an episodic series. It was fairly entertaining.
Right, yeah.
But it's more of a Star Trek episode than it was a Farscape episode. Let me put it like that.
I don't even know that Star Trek would ever go there because, okay, we find out that he's been there for 3 months, enough to grow this terrible, fake, bad beard. This awful, just like, the fans know it as the ferret.
I've had alien creatures in my face, up my nose, inside my brain, down my pants.
To me, it looked like, I don't know.
Clearly, Dargo had some of his beard care products stacked away on the module because, damn, it's smooth.
Yeah, the Lux and L'Oreal has worked its magic. He's sitting on the back of the Farscape one. He's got a fishing crossbow contraption that...
there's a coconut floating in the water, and as soon as something underwater takes a nibble on the coconut, the crossbow fires off this big spear-type thing and gets some... I don't know. It looks like a water spider. It's not got enough legs for a spider, but it doesn't have any pincers either. So it's just this big thing that he pulls out of the water. And as he does so, there's this gorgeous, handsome young lady who is clearly off the planet of the purple pants people, standing on the shore watching him.
Lovely sarong.
It is gorgeous. I love the material. Everything. The clothes are beautiful in this episode.
Oh, Terry Ryan, the costume designer, did yeoman's work. It's incredible here.
And he offers her a bite of the creature that he just caught, and she gives him this mysterious little smile. You do know that if a man in our culture offers a woman food, that he's signaling his intentions or his interest.
Just doing the sort of coquettish...
Yes. But she's come to give him a gift as well. And I thought it was just eviction papers at first.
Yeah.
But no, it turns out
she would be a fantastic legal server or whatever this calls to serve you your papers.
But no, it's a star map that she's made apparently.
Yes, a map of the heavens, because apparently during the time that he's been here, he's divulged to the locals that he is a spaceman.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, yeah, no, so were our ancestors. It's cool. We understand about space.
Yeah, they're fine with that. She shows him the map and asks him, where's your planet from? And he picks up the stone and he hovers it about the map a bit like he's looking around for the place.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. On this map, right about...
And then he turns around and he chucks it way into the lake. And
so good. Okay, so there's deeper symbolism there if you want to read into it, because a wormhole does look like a vortex, like a sink in water. So maybe that's what he was going for.
I don't think so. I think he was just trying to convey the distance, or I have no bloody clue what it is.
Because he's still a little grumpy, isn't he?
He is, a little bit.
Even to this nice young woman.
He did seem very serene as he was lying on top of the ship and just chilling and enjoying the weather. But now he's still a little bit moody. And even more so when another very handsome local arrives.
Rokon.
The
first among the hunters. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I can sort of understand his mopiness because, okay, we have the leading man of a science fiction show finally gets to take his shirt off for the whole start of an episode. He's bronzed, he's tanned, he's an independent hunter. He has apparently caught the eye of a local princess.
Yes.
And he finally gets to give a gun show, and we all have front row tickets, and then in walks this
chiseled, gorgeous,
this absolute unit of masculine perfection. Rokon walks in, just casually flexing, putting poor Dumpy John to shame.
Dissing his catch, because he goes, oh, you got a baby. You really shouldn't take them if they're any smaller than that.
Yes. No. That it is a little bit of big dogging.
It totally was.
But it's also, it's responsible huntsmanship. Yeah, you don't go for the young ones. You let them mature first.
True. I assume after 3 months he'd known that, and he's just rubbing it in a little bit.
Probably also a little bit envious of John has built some clever devices in order to be able to subsist.
Yeah, I very much thought this was going to be a Robinson Crichton moment, but
yeah. Robinson Crichton. Oh, I like that. Do you know he was originally called Kreutzner?
Sorry?
Crichton was the original. Crichton Robinson was the name of the main character, and it was apparently a time where it was popular to like reverse your first and last name.
Oh, okay.
And then he made Robinson into his given
I had
name.
no idea that was done. So the crew of Moya at this point,
Yeah.
and this is where we learn that it has been a quarter of a cycle that he has been stuck on this planet, have in the meantime been hopping from one green planet to the next, on
Just the green ones.
backtracking their starburst and trying to find Crichton.
What an incredible... And okay, so it's wearing on them.
Mostly on Zahn.
Yeah. She thinks they should give up.
Yeah, because like we're making it easier for the peacekeepers to find us, and we should give up the search. He's clearly not there.
Moya's starburst data says that this planet is on an exact reverse trajectory.
Along with every other system we've been through in the last quarter of a cycle.
But Stoic Tentacles is having none of it. We must keep going.
Whatever happened to John is his own doing. He shouldn't have left Moya in the time of crisis.
We drove him to it. All of us.
Yeah, not abandoning a comrade in need. And like he also says, we drove him off the ship.
Yes.
Like he's taking some responsibility for this. Yeah, it was a rash action on the part of John, but he realizes like they have some complicity.
At least he does, yeah.
Like exhibits an extraordinary amount of like empathy and responsibility from this normally gruff and himself very impulsive warrior.
Right, and that's what I've noticed in Dargo in general, is that he seems to either be over-reasonably or overly unreasonable. It's like, and I can never tell which situation will provoke which reaction. Sometimes he goes like, dude, you're overreacting, and then the next time something like this happens, he's overly reasonable and cautious and friendly, and he's still very stoic about it, but...
That is true. And for Zahn, the same is true in kind of the opposite, like they're counter phases to each other. Like she is coldly logical. He calls her cold here as well for wanting to quit.
Cold, perhaps, but also practical.
But that was the same logic that she used when she decided to help cut off Pilot's arm.
Yes.
Yep, it'll grow back. Sometimes a sacrifice must be made for the good of everyone else, and she can justify that to herself really coolly.
Yeah. And, of course, Erin gets to cast the deciding vote, and she goes like, let's keep looking.
For now, yeah. She's straight down the middle, as if it doesn't really bother her.
She seems almost a little bit bored by the argument between Dargo and Zahn. And it's like, this one again. And I wonder if it's still her, like, simmering interest in Crichton or not, which has come up a few times during the last few episodes. So it might be she's trying not to show that too much. But she goes, okay, let's keep going for a little bit longer, which placates Dargo, and Zahn goes ahead with me, which I found interesting, by the way. Rigel apparently
doesn't get a vote. No.
Listen to me!
I get that. So, and I think that's from a sort of practical point of view. Like, I don't know for sure, but I imagine in the original script, Rigel was there as well. And then the producers looked at how many different places Rigel had to be in this episode.
Oh, and it was already too many.
We've only got 7 or 8 days to shoot this, and it takes 14 hours to move this puppet from place to place. You just can't have 5 different scenes with him.
I guess you have a point, because they needed him on the outdoor set.
Yes,
so
exactly.
They couldn't have him in the
Shipping
studio.
back and forth, it would just be way too unwieldy.
Yeah. And consider that.
Again, I don't know for sure. It's just
it seems to make sense. And
such a huge...
I mean, the special effects budget this time around really went to Rigel. It's unmistakable, yes.
And the rest went to costumes.
Yes.
I bet, because we're back on the planet. We have the
village of the Purple Pants people.
The Purple Pants people. They wear orange as a highlight color. It's gorgeous. It's all these beautiful shiny silks that they're wearing. All these different variations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
I'm getting a bit of a Pacific theater vibe of these. Well, not Pacific theater.
Well, but theater is a very loaded term there.
Yeah, that's what you know what I mean. Pacific Islander
Polynesian,
vibe. Yeah, Polynesian.
Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Like there's a beautiful waterfall at the back of the village, which is a tiny village apparently. Because
there's not
going to be like 50 people
there
maybe at most.
That sounds about right.
Something like that. But they seem to be happily living. They've got they're fishing. I don't know. I presume they're hunting.
Children are playing.
Music's being made.
John wanders through the village where he's given his own little vest.
He's wearing that above his khakis as he goes to pay his respects to the village elder. No, more of a leader. He doesn't seem to be particularly old yet.
Yes, the Grondir, Cato Ray.
Who is the father of the beautiful young lady that we have...
Space Moana.
Spoana?
No, no, that's nothing. But he's quite beloved among the villagers.
Apparently so, because he's given a position of honor to sit at the chieftain's side in his hut.
Yep.
Much to the chagrin of the high priestess.
Yes, who's seen him wandering in, greeting the locals, playing lightsaber pretend with one of the children, and now sitting next to the chieftain, which is a place of honor reserved for the greatest of hunters, which the priestain's son, first among the hunters, Rokon, has only attained once.
And this is this mother is like it's Tiger Mom. She is super like. I mean, she eggs him on. She's like, and how often have you sat there? And it's like only once. And it's like, it should be your place. And she's like super ambitious mother.
She's sort of like the Oedipal version of Lady Macbeth. Yes. Ooh.
I mean, not that much blood on our hands in this episode, but fair enough.
It's such a lovely village, and I like how much time is spent just seeing everyone, all their different clothes, the dwellings, the technology they have. Oh, this lovely set of rocks that...
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Will come into play later
sort of ceremonial. It's a really lovely place to live. And that's the message of Kato Rey as well, as he's talking to John. He's trying to entice him to become part of the village, because he's been living like a hobo on the edges, according to John's words, by his own choice, to not interfere with their ways.
He wants to, he wants to maintain the Prime Directive or something.
Oh,
and
Star Trek again, yeah.
Yes, well. We also learn, I believe, here that it is the women here who pick their mate. And he's basically sanctioning his daughter choosing Crichton.
Yeah, who conveniently walks by with her fellow sorority gaggle. And once again, tittering behind there.
Which is weird, because I didn't get that vibe of her at all in the beginning. It seems a bit of a cliche shot that they threw in here.
Yeah. Now, great credit to the director Ian Watson. Like, I understand that he took great pains with this episode because he did not want the natives to be presented
primitive,
or in bad stereotypes, or like to avoid all those tropes. But I think it was Claudia Black who observed, like, as a consequence, all of this is treated way too seriously. Okay. Everyone so this seems like a living community, and it's very well presented, and all the characters seem real. But nobody's having any fun. Like, there's no cheek to it. There's no...
I suppose.
There's no wink and nod and silliness.
Also, what I noticed is that despite it being a very small community, the racial diversity is immense.
Yes. We have people who look to be of Southeast Asian descent.
Pacific Islanders, clearly African descent.
Some Caucasians as well. Yeah, you've got this huge mix, which... is revealed later, they are themselves descendants of colonists.
Yes.
So it would have been
you'd think that they've achieved an amalgamation after hundreds of years, which must have...
Certainly with such a small population.
Yeah. But there might be
maybe
more.
there are more. Yeah, maybe that's what we're supposed to believe. Like, they probably didn't have the budget for thousands upon thousands
Very
of extras.
True. Which you would only use in a few background shots, and then aside from that, completely ignore.
Speaking of diversity, we're going to continue with the segues. Yeah. The diversity of the planet is increased with the sudden arrival of two new aliens.
Right, Dargo and Rigel.
Rigel is complaining about the piss poor landing.
Right.
That is the worst pod landing I ever experienced. Where did you learn to fly?
We lost all power. We dropped the last 20 units.
You're telling me.
Dargo is, a little bit defensive. And we soon learn why, because as Rigel floats out on his throne chair, it immediately powers down and
careening into the water.
No, I think it's in the ground. He doesn't get wet. But he has to climb out of his throne chair, because apparently there's this, this is where we learn that there's this
negative
power effect.
Energy vortex. Yes.
Negative energy vortex, that's the one.
And it's affecting their comms, so they lose contact.
Yeah, they can briefly speak with Pilot, but very soon they lose their contact. Dargo notices that his keyblade doesn't work properly either.
Yeah.
I mean, he turns it from a sword into a rifle, then it fails to fire, so I guess he turns it back again. Rigel has to stumble through the sand. Not a very good walker.
No, he doesn't do that very often. Also because the CGI is insanely expensive.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that some of those shots are green screened, where they have him walking across the sand or walking out of the shuttle.
I do love his walk though. I've got a little animation of it here. Like, he sticks his arms way out and overbalances. He is so uncomfortable on land.
So I wonder what's that like? Where do Hynerians live? Do they live in the water? I mean, he is kind of amphibious, but he hates mud.
Yeah.
And is his poor walking just because he's the lazy dominar, or is it because he was tortured, or is it because it's something that all Hynerians do?
Okay, well, thinking about it, you see him on his throne sled. Yes, you see him on his throne sled. He has his feet sticking out.
Yeah.
And he's got little pokey little feet sticking forward. He is very roly-poly. I don't know whether that's normal for Hynerians or whether he's just a portly gentleman.
Yes. Fat royal dude.
I mean, we don't know. We don't know any other Hynerians except for him, and he has all of these qualifiers. Like, he's not just a Hynerian. No. He's a dominar, and he's a selfish prick, and
he's
a glutton.
Several hundred cycles old at this point. That we
also
assume.
That, and lived under privation and abuse. So who knows? Maybe most Hynerians do quite well on land, and he's just out of practice because he's got his throne sled.
It makes sense. So we have a snarky discussion between Eren and Zahn.
Yeah, this one was kind of weird. Like they've got a partnership going on as they're trying to work out what the problem is from space. Weirdly, it was Zahn who suggested that they need to go down and help their comrades, and it was
Eren's
Eren.
like, nope.
No, we need, first rule of combat is know your enemy. We have to know what's going on before we go down there.
We lost the shuttle. We can't afford to lose another one because then everybody would be stuck down on the planet with no probability of getting back up.
Yeah, like Eren is the only one who is not impulsive and abrasive and cold in this episode. Like, she is the emotional center, which for Eren is kind of weird.
She has a very small part in this episode at all. Just a little bit of holding back against the others. She's very influential in the episode, but she barely has any parts.
You were a lot more agreeable as a peace-loving priest.
As I assume were you as a peacekeeper pilot.
I didn't give up my calling. You did.
I warn you fairly, Eren. Do not go there.
Is that a threat?
I will only tell you once. There are lines that we should never cross.
We go back to John, who is mulling over the possibility of living here when the idyllic peace is broken. He bumps into a heavily armed, like horn-encrusted gentleman.
Somewhat pasty-faced, though.
A little bit, yeah. He's got the sort of like samurai-style headdress. I noticed that with a lot of their headgear.
They've got the neck covering.
Yes, exactly. And the slightly like inturned or upturned corners,
and the pointy horns on the shoulders and on the breastplate at one point.
Yeah, that one was weird.
Like I called it the Lucario outfit.
Yes, that's
this big chest spike.
Yes, I'm not cool enough to know about the different Pokemons, so you'll have to forgive me.
So he gets forced down on his knees, threatened by spears. The Nubian god is basically telling him to lay off and don't interfere, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not interfering." It's like, it's all in your mind, man.
Yeah, that's not a great thing to say to someone when his buddies have a knife to your neck, which gets pulled a little closer.
Fortunately, another knife shows up. Because at this point, our great Luxon warrior comes charging in with his bat'leth.
Yeah, finally putting it to decent use in a. Sorry, Ian Watson, a not very good fight scene.
No, he uses it more to smack people around with, although he actually manages to cut someone this time.
Gets a slice in.
He does get a slice in.
Poor Rokon, his perfect chest is marred.
And other than what you'd expect Crichton to be excited, or at least, surprised, he immediately goes back into his 3-month sulk.
Get the hell away from me.
And he literally turns his back on Dargo and goes like, "Oh, well, you guys left me behind," rather than showing even some surprise at them showing up again. It's like, "Oh, you came back for me." It's like, I mean, you'd think that would make him doubt his original decision that they'd abandoned him. It's like if they suddenly show up again.
No, you're right. But apparently,
I guess the butt hurts big in this one.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just been sulking this whole time because the last thing that he saw, the last contact that he had with them was, from his perspective, them ditching him.
You guys are bugging out on me?
I hate Starburst.
Like, as soon as he left Moya, they initiated Starburst, and all he could imagine was that they were as fed up with him as he was with them.
Yeah.
And they just left him. And he's been fuming ever since. And we just haven't been able to read his emotions because of his bad beard.
Oh, that must be it. That
Yeah,
must be
exactly.
the
So
ferret
he's, poor Ben Browder with his bad beard was giving a great performance, but the beard was in the way.
That'll be it.
And so, yeah, like, okay, you've got it. I've got GIFs this time, and I'm definitely going to post this one.
Yeah.
So at the end of the fight scene, they
scurry off.
They
yes.
skulk away while Crichton's already just casually sitting on a log, and then like it's sort of like a Punch and Judy fight scene where the big bad wolf skulks off, and in comes Dargo to chase them away. But yeah, John is not impressed. Says, "Go back where you came from.
Having none of it.
I don't need any of you." And Dargo's a bit nonplussed.
Yeah, Dargo's, well, again, he's being super reasonable and stoic, again, almost apologetic to the point. And he's not, I mean, this is one of the situations where I would have expected Dargo to get, like, irritated and start going blustery. But no, he's, like, perfectly reasonable. He gives John his room to be a sulky teenager, and
I mean, the closest he comes is to say that, affectionately, I think that John looks like Dren and smells like Dren. That's another bit of Farscape terminology there.
I guess so. I mean, they clearly don't have showers here, and like if I don't know how ravenous those little crustaceans are that live there, but it might not be safe to bathe in the lake. Although they have the nice waterfall, so it looks like a good place for communal showers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So medicine on this planet is apparently painlessly sticking hot pokers at wounds and then sticking a leaf on them.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so we've got Rokon in the Grondir's tent,
yes.
and Lishala is there tending to his wound. Yes, like putting a soldering iron to the slash on his chest.
Just kind of like dabbing it, not even like pushing it in,
closing
just kind of like dab, and which apparently doesn't cause any distress or discomfort of him.
No,
he's not even shown to be like eating the pain or like ignoring it. He's just like literally ignoring it and just like having a conversation.
NBD.
Well, she's just sitting there like with this poker, like kind of like dabbing at that huge gash that he has across his chest.
That can be doing nothing good.
No.
Like, you're just inhibiting the healing. Like, I know, I'll just make sure that the edges of this wound, instead of like allowing them to knit together, I'm just going to add more scars on top of this wound.
And then just like stick a banana leaf on top, not even a banana leaf, some dried little piece of parchment leaf.
Yeah.
And no, that's apparently it. That's enough.
Job done.
We'll just glue that on there and we're fine. We're fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Just as reassuring is the Priestain talking to the Grondir. Nira, I think. Yes, Nira, I think, is the priestess.
Who was immediately trying to poison the mind of the chieftain about, they attacked our warriors. I'm like, no, the warriors started by attacking them.
The punishment is death.
Yes, she's a bloodthirsty little woman.
Highly ambitious. I mean, you can tell the fact that she comes from a position of authority by the size of her hat.
Oh, yeah, she is definitely got the big purple hat with all the decorations and the palm trees and the camels.
Oh, it's great. I wish I could pull off a hat like that.
Oh, well, you could pull it off her, presumably.
Oh, no, I'm not going to near her. She's vicious.
Well, that's a good point, yes.
Speaking of antagonism, I'm running out of segues here. Back on the beach, Dargo has followed Mopey John back to his hobo camp, where Rigel conveniently is already snoozing in the tent.
Yeah, he's decided, I'm not going to be bothered by this. Makes you really wonder why Rigel came along in the first place.
I have no idea. There's no reason.
I mean, for the plot, yes, obviously, but other than that, it's...
Yeah, I mean, he was attracted by a semblance of plot and the idea of being important to an episode.
I mean, if I want to be charitable about it, I guess they figured that he would be good at finding food on the planet. But,
food, yeah. But not necessarily for carrying it back.
No, there you go. I mean, that's where Dargo went along.
Our little Hynerian is taking a nap, and you can see his little Hynerian feet. They're not very well adapted for walking. They're sort of curved inward, I see. And he's woken when John throws his Aladdin vest over his face as a get out of here gesture, like saves him the bother of having to rob his stuff and just start throwing it at Rigel. Here's my shoes.
Rigel was already napping
those.
on Crichton's stuff. It was like sleeping on his Ayesa jacket and kind of like, oh, I'll take this if he doesn't come back for it.
John just blanks his friends and goes fishing. He's got a big old fishing rod that he's made, and then Dargo quietly talks him down. We didn't abandon you. Why would we abandon you?
Yeah.
You left us while we were doing maintenance on Moya. It overloaded. She
had to starburst,
did an automatic starburst,
and it took us like a quarter of a cycle to find you again.
Yeah.
And you'd think at that point, I guess the butt hurt is still very strong, and it needs a little time. To
I think it's just the beard. I think he's actually doing a very good, emotional scene where he's realizing that his friends have come back for him.
He's being beard controlled. Yes,
and the beard is just in the way of his performance. He doesn't have Anthony Simcoe's experience of acting through 95% facial prosthetic.
Fair point. Yeah,
Simcoe does everything with eyes and lips, and he manages just fine. But as soon as he gets, I wonder if that's a point of contention between them. Benny Browder. As soon as you get a ferret stuck to your face, suddenly you can't act anymore. The girls, as they're called by Crichton at one point, Zahn and Aaron, are on the ship concocting a plan because they've realized that there is a negative energy vortex, and they're doing some science.
Yes.
Zahn brings in one of those Rorschach ink block tests that apparently Moya can print out,
which looks a bit like the star map that our one lovely lady presented Crichton with at the beginning.
It's got the same sort of
but it's clearly something different, right? But it's
aesthetic.
it's got stuff on the planet, and they've managed to locate the source of this negative energy point thing device.
Yeah, it's still too generalized, but what I thought was kind of cool is they're using this scan of the planet to try and find out where their friends are by mapping out the biology and looking for complexity markers.
And finding the weird ones.
Which is so, we have no science that could possibly scan for that, but these are Leviathan sensors, and they apparently work according to other principles.
I suppose they do a lot of life scanning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe there are space predators. We saw that giant skeleton on Namtar's.
And we know that
asteroid.
they have very good scanners, much better than the scanners that the peacekeeper ships have.
Oh, certainly because they were able to detect a marauder on the other side of a field while the marauder couldn't detect them. Yeah.
So we got that going. Our beautiful young princess shows back up to the camp, to the hobo camp, to make amends with the other two.
A little bit put off by the appearance of a giant Luxon, but he says, "Don't be afraid." And
he's with me. Okay. She's like, he's cool with this guy, so fine enough. She definitely is starting to show her romantic tendencies toward Crichton at this point.
Oh, really? What was your clue?
Well, the fact that they almost kissed.
There was a straight up kiss. There was an
actual
kiss.
Kisses him. They did, right, yes.
See, this is the advantage of me having little GIFs on my phone and you going through it with the screenshots. Yeah, she actually snogs him. He's not particularly interested, but hey, again, you can't tell through the beard.
No. She convinces them to come back to the village with her. And in the
to set things straight, to tell their side of the story.
Exactly. Which they don't get the chance to, because on the way back they get ambushed.
Yeah, Rokon and his cronies again.
They get some 1 by 1 square meter nets thrown over them, which completely incapacitates the fierce Luxon warrior.
Oh, my kryptonite, a little net.
She professes her innocence in this whole matter, and that it is again the warriors who are being overly aggressive and protective of their planet, I suppose. At the same time, the camp gets raided by some other warriors.
Yeah, who apparently have been given the mission, just go to his camp and just pick up some random
stuff.
things.
Yes.
Just no pattern, just don't even look for anything important. Just pick up some things so that your hands are full when you go back. And one of those things turns out to be
Rigel bravely retreating into a bag and hiding, and getting just picked up in the process.
I love Rigel cowering. Rigel is, it's so great. Jonathan Hardy does a fantastic job, lending his voice to
Rigel, yes. But yeah, they grab the bag with Rigel and maybe one or two other things, and then just decide this is it. We don't need anything else. We're going to head back to the camp. Sorry, the village.
For a parlor scene / trial scene where the village is gathered around, the prisoners are wrapped in their fishnets. I have long wanted to see John Crichton in fishnets. This was not what I had in mind.
No, sorry. It's sometimes you get your wish, but not in the way that you wanted to.
They are putting up a terrible defense. He's just quietly mumbling, "No, it's not true. It's not true. I'm innocent." While the accusations are being leveled at them.
They attacked the warriors. No, it was the other way around. It's they were the ones being attacked. But yeah.
Yep, the prosecution in the form of the priestain is incredibly. She's fiery. She's accusatory.
She's like Tiger Mother, trying to make sure that her son ends up in the position of power, rather than these weird aliens. And the mayor or the camp leader or whatever it is,
Catoret,
yes,
the Grondier.
He's a little bit, he's not incredibly harsh on them, but he's clearly swayed by the power of the priesthood.
Yes, because any time that he shows even the slightest bit of empathy, she reminds him of the absoluteness of the law.
Yes.
and that it is not to be questioned. She does so very publicly.
The Bago Rigel gets pushed down, Rigel comes crawling out, and everybody immediately has a, like, oh my god, literally.
Yes, it's a very C-3PO moment
Yes.
where everybody drops to their knees. Crichton, in his great confusion, looks around and sees that those rocks, the rocks,
if you line them up just right, then it looks like a
little Hynerian.
Well, quite a big Hynerian, actually.
It's so great. It's got the earbrows, it's got the downturned mouth.
Rigel turns to this like a fish to water. He immediately raises his hand and starts doing the royal wave.
The sort of benediction.
Yes.
Yes. And you see him smile, which I always love to see.
Rigel's smug smile is like, nobody does smug like Rigel. And everybody is on their knees worshipping their god, apparently.
Not their god.
Not a god, but a sovereign.
Their sovereign.
Right, that's what he thinks. But, no, to them it's very much more divinity, right? Because the priesthood has been carefully cultivating the Hynerians as gods, as we learn, in order to elevate their own power.
Yes, because they have a sacred text called the Timbala.
Which Rigel gets provided with after asking for the sacred text. And
that was such a cool bit of maneuvering. Like, he knows that when they're all safely back in the tent and he's being feted and he's being fed these delicious treats and Shakloom jerky.
Oh, this is too much. Keep it coming. Oh, fruit, Shakloom jerky.
Is being reminded that he has to perform some function at the great ceremony, and without giving away his cluelessness, he goes, yes, for my part, I will need a copy of the sacred text. And yes, of course, here you go. Is the Timbala.
And Dargo goes like, sacred text? How do you know they had sacred text?
Where were you brought up? Every religion's got one.
They all have sacred text. Yes. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, exactly. It's like just
lots of planets have a north.
Yes. And apparently they're like a bit more page turners than the one in Star Wars.
Yeah, well, he does need to do a bit of struggling because he finds that it's written in ancient Hynerian.
And Dargo goes like, do you speak ancient Hynerian?
Oh, I had a whole coterie of private tutors.
Yes, but do you actually speak it?
I will try.
I'll try.
Yeah. Which I thought was hilarious. It's like he immediately tries to bluff his way out of even a simple question like that.
I know,
deflecting it. And so yes, Rigel starts to get to work by reading the sacred text, especially after the High Priestess is gleefully informing of the fact that if he does not perform his sacred rite, that she will see to it that he gets tortured to death, basically.
Yeah, it's a weird how those how that sort of small print seems to be in all of these space religions.
Well, she kind of listens into the fact that he has no idea what's going on, and when he finally does admit that he has no idea how to, he has to help everyone ascend into the light. Yes, by the guiding by the hands or something. What is it again that he says? It's like,
yep.
By the hand of the Masata shall he rise and lead us to the light. Rise and lead us to the light. Rise up and lead us to the light. Rise up and lead us to the light.
Ascend into the light, and I have no idea how to do that. And she just pokes her head in at that moment to hear that and smiles and then moonwalks back out of there.
Yes. Rigel tries to turn this into it's obviously metaphorical, and she is like, no, you must.
No, the prosecution insists on the letter of the law. It says very clearly that's exactly what it's supposed to be. They're in deep, deep trouble. Also because back on Moya, Zan and Aaron have been working on a plan to, since we can't go down there, we're going to have to provide him with a shielded power source through some sort of projectile. They got the projectile working, but not the power source.
Which is Aaron doing tech work.
Yes!
She is literally just welding and soldering and just getting her hands dirty.
For someone who used to look down her nose at tech work, you're pretty damn good at this.
I wonder how how she justifies that to herself, because we know that they have the caste system among the peacekeepers.
I mean, she's had a quarter of a cycle to get over it, and maybe she might have just
she's
start
done
to realize.
Before,
I know she does, and I mean, I'm thinking that she's slowly easing into the fact that she is no longer a part of the peacekeeper caste system, and she's outside that, and where it's she's opening up to doing more different kinds of work.
I mean, maybe she justifies it to herself. It's not I'm not really building something. This is just a reverse field strip of a weapon that doesn't exist yet. So
yes, they still don't have a power source that they shielded power source that they can send down. But they have they've refined the map a little bit more, and they've decided like, okay, we've got this higher life form, more complicated stuff here, and there's a few of them are different, so that's probably R3.
Yeah, that's so cool. They have on the Inkblot test, they have these 3 that are clearly highly evolved and very different from the rest of the flora and fauna. That's fantastic. That's a fantastic way to scan.
They have the map with the coordinates, and they're going to put that in the probe or the pod or whatever you want to call it, and they're going to launch it down to the planet.
So all our heroes have to do, hopefully, is seize that, but they have troubles of their own because while Rigel steps out to try and perform his part in this ceremony, which is, hey, it's picking up, by the way.
Yes.
They've got a full-on song and dance number outside.
They're performing the potato dance in front of the big fire.
Yeah.
You'd rather those guys have danced all over your face.
Because I don't know, because they've hauled out this big metal pyramid, which they've built a fire around,
right.
and then the potatoes are stacked up around it, and you've got these white prayer flags dangling from lines, which are also clearly...
apparently those were pages from the script.
Nice. Don't need these anymore.
No.
So already shot those scenes, just put them up there.
Yeah, the dancing was really cool. Notice how they wore different colors, much more earth tones on the dancers.
much more yellow and gold, and no purple and orange. Yes,
as if this shiny purple and orange is their sort of normal everyday wear. But if you really want to celebrate, you wear earth tones, dumpy earth tones.
Apparently, people are burning their possessions.
Yeah,
because they're being going to be led into the light.
So when Rigel comes out, flanked by his boys...
Yes, they come out first. They go stand on either side of the entrance to the hut.
John and Dargo, cross-armed, looking just like very tough.
We are the guards here. And Rigel starts the bullshit.
Listen to me! I...
Yeah, giving his benediction again, and...
God!
He falters almost immediately, like, Rigel, come on,
you can
boy,
do this,
you're better than this. Like he's bluffed his way through Zenithan pirates before. He's like he's capable of so much more. I was very disappointed in Rigel in this moment,
which immediately gets jumped on by the priestess.
False god, he's not the Masata. False god.
She wants them out. She wants her power back. She
gets everyone within 4 seconds. She gets them all chanting "False God, false God."
Yes.
False God. Ouch. False God. False God.
They had that in the quiver.
I mean, I'm quite surprised at how easily they get turned by just the slightest bit of hesitation on his part. And this is where Dargo kind of like. I mean, he doesn't
bravely
quite show...
runs away, old brave Sir Dargo.
Yes, him and Crichton immediately decides to haul tail.
It's Dargo's decision. Like this whole angry mob with torches and pitchforks comes for Rigel. Dargo grabs Crichton by the collar, yanks him to safety, and they run off together. So
pulls him off, run off to the lake.
His whole idea of not abandoning a comrade in a time of crisis doesn't apply.
Rigel's not a comrade. It's like at least not an ally. I mean, Crichton is an official ally, but Rigel apparently not so much.
Not so lucky. I mean, Crichton says we have to go back, and Dargo says no, we'll be no good to him if we're captured as well. We have to. But they have no way to know whether he's still alive. Like the fire was right there.
They might have turned him limb for limb. They might have put him in the
Dargo, they're gonna fry Rigel.
Put him inside that big metal pyramid by ways of a brazen bull or something like that. But as they arrive at the lake, it's just when a comet-like thing crashes into the water, which is the pod that was being sent in, which Crichton somehow immediately realizes that must be it because he dives into the water and pulls it out.
Yeah. Well, which is such a weird, decision.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, cool, look, a meteorite just struck the water. Let's get it.
Yeah. And not like, oh, yeah, fine, let's just continue our conversation. But inside, he finds a rolled-up Rorschach test that shows the circumference of the negative energy vortex, which they interpret to mean like, hey, this is right in the middle of the village.
Yeah.
There is something in the village...
which is causing this weird negative power thing.
Which is what Rigel read in the Sacred Timbala as well.
That he found out that it was the fact that these people are stuck here on this planet is something that was done to them. They were colonists from the Hynerian Empire to expand their their property or their influence or something, and apparently were abandoned for some reason or the other. But not just abandoned, deliberately stranded on this planet by the negative power thing.
By Dominar Rigel X, so a distant ancestor. I mean, we don't know exactly how long ago that would be.
No, but we can assume that it's probably dozens of generations, because like Rigel has already been imprisoned for 100 cycles, and he was like...
Well, not dozens of generations, like he is the 16th.
Right, no, but I'm talking about dozens of generations of the humans.
Oh, of us. Yeah, probably. In which case, like, having only 50 is a really weird, like, low number.
But then again, it might just be like there might be other people on the planet as well, and it's just like for budget purposes that we only show the 50 people living in this particular village.
Yes, you have to remind me every now and again that it's just a TV show.
Yes.
So, I mean, why would they do that? Like, primitivizing their own colonists like this is such a weird move. I mean, it did allow the priest class to elevate the Hynerians to deities.
Yes, but that was clearly done by themselves as a power move,
exactly.
and not exactly a thing that was planned by the Hynerians themselves. So yeah, we have no clue how or why this is done.
Well, we have one clue, and that is that this planet is in the uncharted territories.
Right.
Now, assuming that was always uncharted and that they didn't just lose the chart at some point.
Yes.
Then this may be like a foray of the Hynerian Empire into the uncharted territories, a quiet, like poking your toe into the water, sort of like the peacekeepers were doing on
maybe
the planet with the Tanit roots.
Right, but they were doing that to power their weapons, and this seems more like they put a long-term colony in there to.
Sort of like in Dune.
Yes.
Yeah, the Missionaria Protectiva.
Probably, yes. Which has been a little bit perverted, I guess, by the power mongering of the priesthood here.
So maybe that was it. Maybe they had a whole diaspora of these primitivized cultures, so that eventually when the Hynerian Empire expanded, they would have some very enthusiastic followers there already.
Right, that makes sense, yeah.
Although, if you have a weapon that can render
power
inert
down an entire planet,
wouldn't you use that all the time?
I think so. That's like a very powerful weapon.
It uses power. Doesn't work.
Ooh, we're stuck here? Oh, no power, no comforts, no defenses. Sounds like paradise.
Rigel and Dargo go back into the village, and
John and Dargo.
Sorry, right?
Yeah,
yes,
where Rigel
course,
is being strung up for the barbecue.
Yes, and it's interesting because like a lot of that anger suddenly gets deflected onto Crichton, as I recall. It's like
Interloper.
They immediately almost forget about Rigel again and start being angry at Crichton, apparently causing this whole problem or being the instigator of it all.
It's always the stranger, isn't it? The stranger in a close knit town gets blamed for whatever misfortune befalls the local populace.
Quick little fight breaks out again, and Crichton notices on this big Hynerian-shaped rock that there's some handprints in the rock.
Yes, sort of like in Total Recall.
Right, with the weird three-pronged hand there.
Yeah, turn on the reactor.
Yes.
Except instead of, the hunky Quaid doing so, it's the sort of slimy Quato-looking slug that has to be...
Although in this case, yes, Crichton bravely runs through the fracas, grabs Rigel, drags him over to the rock, jabs his hands against it.
And by the hands of the sovereign,
By the hand of the Masada shall he rise up and lead us to the light.
Whatever
the hands
it
of the sovereign will lead them into the light, because the rock cracks open and this bright bluish white light comes shining out of it.
It's very pretty.
Everybody immediately drops to their feet again, because now he has actually literally fulfilled the prophecy.
Yeah, that one's that's a solid win.
Yeah,
for the defense.
They're very quickly with the emotional turning around here. Rigel goes back to his beatific smugness, which he does so well.
Waving his hands again, and his throne sled hovers over, so he's even
power
able to
comes back on.
Rise.
He slips in, it comes flying towards him, it lifts him up, and it's like even more so now, now he's like literally flying off God-like levels, because of course they've never seen anything of this. Like they've worked. I mean, they know they are descendant from space people, but they've never seen a hover sled. They've never seen something flying around like that.
Yeah, I think the suggestion of, like, you noticed that pyramid device earlier on that they seem to be cooking around, like, that must all be leftover technology that just hasn't worked, that they're using as, you know.
And I noticed they had like a plastic canoe in the background at one point as well.
Yes.
Yeah, someone was carrying like a plastic canoe, they were paddling around in the water. So this must all be leftover technology. Yeah, so
worked at some point.
Everything seems to be better. The ruler of the village does another 180 about turn again.
For a statesman, he is very easily influenced.
He does not have much of a spine. No, I guess it must be his personality that makes him such a good ruler.
He is very gentle and kind of sweet. A quality that he gets to show to Rigel when he gifts the sovereign with a whole lot of food.
Yes, the jerky from whatever, like
Shakloom jerky.
Shakloom jerky, which seems to please Rigel very much.
And then in turn pleases Cato Ray. He's got this lovely smell, like
Shakloom jerky. Go. Yes.
Does little Hynerian, do you want some Shakloom jerky?
Yes,
good jerky, isn't it?
Apparently he knows that this is a favourite of Hynerians, even though that he's never seen one before in his life. I guess it's the sacred text.
Oh yeah, maybe it was a favourite of Rigel the 10th. Maybe Rigel the 10th had the planet seeded with Shaklooms.
Oh, perfectly possible. And yeah, pretty much be all that ends all.
Yeah, much like our episode, it just ends here.
Yep.
Like there's a last bit of goodbye to the between John and Princess Lishala.
Another little bit of my affections cannot be handed over. There's a little bit of that in there as well. Like
yes, yeah, because that's what her dad Cato Ray says at some point, and even like when all is said and done, and John confronts Rokon and
says
Lishala.
Take care of them, take care of her, or what does he say?
Yeah, take care of her. But I think he means his mom. I think he means the priest then, who's been deposed, and
makes
she
sense.
needs to like.
Your mother, will she?
She will survive her displacement.
Yeah, she needs to chill down a little bit.
Rather than like he's not just handing over Lishala to Rokon.
No,
although well, he's not doing that either.
No, but Rokon seems to be a little bit more chilled at this point, and
without the sort of venomous influence of his mother.
Yeah.
And Crichton says something very peculiar. He says that he has to. His destiny is to be with his people.
Right.
My future is with my own kind.
And the way he says it.
It seems to be he's talking about the crew of Moya.
About Moya, yeah. Those are his people, rather than,
Although there probably is, I do think he brings the star chart in his pack. I think.
Why wouldn't he?
You have star charts.
There are no galactic star charts here.
I need to see some star charts.
We have no star charts.
I mean, he's been whining about star charts for
yes, very much so.
13 episodes and never really putting a lot of effort into it, although I don't actually see him do anything with it. I don't know for sure that he actually brings it with him.
No.
So maybe his whole thing about star charts
this
is
whole star
just
chart is like
over.
made with a telescope from the backyard of this village. So it's not really going to be all that comprehensive or all that accurate or all that useful, I suppose.
Okay, John, what do you want? So you don't want them off the map fibers because then they look weird. You don't want them off
he just wants a signpost that says this way to Earth.
Yeah, a cartoon Warner Brothers this way to
little asteroid with an arrow pointing this way to Earth. That's clearly the way that he wants to go.
Oh, for the listeners at home, this is the groan of someone who's trying very hard not to spoil anything for his friend. Ooh. Something to look forward to.
So yeah, end of the episode. It's like not much.
There's not much of a button on this one. They usually do a lot better with
they have a little personal moment, but none of that.
Nothing with Zan and Aaron. Kind of a fizzle. At the end of this episode, and you know what? I'm actually with you. I don't get why it's so universally hated. Yes, I see the tropes being used. You know, the white man among the natives, and the princess falls in love with him. But
I was entertained. It was and
it was handled respectfully. It was performed well by everyone. I think I'm with Claudia Black though. It could have been sillier. People could have had a bit more fun with it.
And like I say, it's one of those episodes at which the end of the plot is reset, and it could as well not have happened, and nothing would have changed, really.
I disagree with you there, though.
Oh?
Well, because yes, okay, so it starts with a flare-up of emotion that's resolved at the end.
Yeah.
But, it is a pivotal moment for John, because he realizes they came back for him.
Right, yes. Okay, I guess you're right in that regard.
Which is something that he has done for them. He's gone back for Rigel.
Yeah.
He's gone back for Dargo.
And now they've come back for him. Yeah, no, very good point, yeah.
which he didn't expect them to do.
No.
Like, he's been sitting there for months moping about being abandoned because that's what he expected to do. Like, at the beginning, he thought that they just didn't care about him.
Yeah, that he was just a weird alien who was just like along for the ride.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Like, again, everything is my fault, is what he says at the beginning. And
yeah, no, it's just
almost always your fault. Yeah.
So good. But yeah, I think this is really important, and that may be why it's so normal for him to decide not to stay here and go with his people.
Okay, yeah, it's a really nice touch. Yeah.
They care about him.
Yeah, and he knows
he never
that.
Realized before.
He knows that for a fact now because they spent a quarter of a cycle to come back and find him.
Yeah, except for Zahn. Who apparently doesn't care about him quite as much. Or
I mean, after 3 months, it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, let's.
I mean, after a few days, as soon as the last Kit Kat is finished, you switch to cannibalism, even with your best friends. We have talked about how our episodes end too abruptly as well. Yeah. Now, we have some recurring segments such as Willy or Woody, so we're going to do that one. I have another proposal for a segment.
Okay.
And so let's do Willy or Woody first.
Okay.
So what is your where we describe what we liked and disliked? The deeper we get into the series and the farther away from the episode where it was about giving someone a Woody or the Willies, it's going to make less and less sense to new listeners. So
no, well,
she gives me a Woody.
She gives you the Willies.
Try episode 5, I think it is. Yes, thank God it's Friday again. That's where it comes up first.
My Woody would definitely be for Rigel's role in this episode.
Yeah, he gets a lot to do.
It's finally, this is a Rigel episode. He still gets limited amount of actual time in it, but it's definitely about Rigel because he's the Hynerian. And
yes.
We get to see Rigel more in his, I guess, natural habitat, where he's being worshipped by loyal subjects.
Oh, that's what I thought you were going to talk about, like beach. A lakeside beach. That seems like where an aquatic creature like it.
Yeah.
But yes, no, being fawned on.
Yeah.
Oh, they give him this lovely little
with the court intriges as well. So
yeah.
I think that was a nice bit of development for Rigel, and that was definitely my Woody for this episode.
I mean, speaking of Woody, he does get taken away by some local squaws for a bath. It is
that
bath
too,
time.
Yes.
We're here to bathe you.
Some Coming to America vibes there. Coming to Hyneria.
Yes, Coming to Hyneria. There you go. I don't think I had a Willy. There was nothing that really squicked me out or gave me weird negative emotions in this episode. So no, I wouldn't be able to go for that.
Maybe the Shakloom?
No, even that was just like sushi, like no worse than.
Yeah, you like your seafood. I don't do very well with
nothing worse than one of those big spider crabs or anything.
Yeah, I have trouble identifying a particular Willy. Yes, okay, some of the colonialist, imperialist tropes are a bit problematic, but everything was handled sincerely and respectfully by the producers and by the director, and certainly by the performers. I guess everyone was just a little bit too serious. That's the worst I can say about them. And some contrived drama here and there. But other than that, where does the Woody go? Everyone was the costume design was shush. This is a PG-13 podcast.
Well, I was going to say our big chisel-chested Nubian skin. Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Even when marred by a gaping wound that is then sort of soldered shut.
Soldered and covered by a leaf. Just one single leaf that kind of sits there, held by one single string. It must be like the magical healing leaf or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then afterward he wears vest. Okay, no, but that's where my Woody's got to go. All the costumes here. Purple is my color, and
orange goes surprisingly well with purple.
It does, as the bearded gentleman from Four Weddings and a Funeral remarks. Yes, the ecclesiastic purple clashing with the heathen orange.
So you had an idea for another segment? Do tell.
Yes. Okay, so I'm tentatively calling this Life on Moya.
Okay.
And what I'm inviting you to do as a little.
Oh.
Okay, we are now being joined by our co-star, Kay's cat, who is woken from her own little starburst slumber and is now experiencing the fourth sensation.
No, that's hunger.
That's hunger. This is the...
Oh, careful, she's going to knock that glass off the table.
Oh, now she just wants head rubs.
Yeah, she just wants...
darling.
Earlier this morning, she was napping on a pillow beside me.
Aww.
And then suddenly there's this full body twitch. And she like looks up surprised and goes like, "What was that?" It's like, "It's you, mate." It's like
I have those too.
Yes.
Apparently, that's a thing that happens a lot when you fall asleep and your body switches over from your voluntary to its autonomous
right. It's like
control.
the dream stage happens before the muscular relaxation kicks in. Then,
oh right, yeah. I often have it when you like a sensation of falling and then
stumbling. Yeah,
yeah.
But you're already kind of dreaming at that point. You're already starting your dream, and you stumble something, and then suddenly you jerk away. So.
Okay, this isn't the segment.
Sorry.
This sounds like another great segment. Talk about your weird dreams that
Talk
you've
about my
had,
cat.
or
sorry.
talk about your cat. Yeah, either way. I mean, that's she can have her own little news segment. Hey, what's new?
Purr.
Nope. Okay, back
It's Geisha, not Moya, but yeah.
Back to the pillow.
Yeah. Back to the pillow. Time for the second half of that nap.
Life on the sequel, the thrilling, gritty reboot of Nap Time.
The nappening.
So, Life on Moya, where I invite you to join me in imagining how various aspects of Life on Moya work that we have maybe some glimpses of,
right.
But because they spend all their lives on, I just have one rule. Not the toilet.
Okay.
That's one that
is that ever going to get resolved?
No.
Okay.
I just told you that's the rule.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about
asking,
toilets on Moya.
Asking.
Because my big worry is that maybe it's sort of like the toilets on Lexbis have at the time.
Right.
Which,
Yes.
Nope.
Let's not go there.
So what? Yeah.
Well, since we started off on a culinary note, why don't we start with the kitchen?
Right. Yes. The what's it called? It's the galley. I think on a
we've
ship.
seen this place which looks kind of like a bar, which has some bottles lying around, but we only ever see them really eating food cubes, unless it's food that they've just acquired from a planet or anything. So we've never seen any food preparation stations. I mean, I can imagine that like Moya has like ovens or like a gas cooker. Probably not, but like a heating pad would be easy enough. Yeah.
So we've seen them open these dispensers where they pull out a tray of food. So maybe that's like a little microwave they've got. We've seen them open up a refrigeration drawer and then going, oh, this is spoiled, even though the refrigeration was only off for mere hours.
Yeah. Maybe it's a stasis thing rather than a refrigeration thing.
Yeah, it's a really cozy space. So what if Alton Brown had been zapped onto the living ship? How would Alton Brown have organized this kitchen? What do you need?
He would have clearly turned the workshop into the kitchen. You know, it's like a workshop, a tech shop where you can
the maintenance bay.
You have everything there that you would need in a kitchen, or at least you can fabricate very easily.
You've got your plasma torch for flambeing. You've got engine degreaser.
Yeah,
you
have a big metal box which you just like heat up as well, which you can cook things in. Like, I mean, if you don't have a kitchen, you turn the workshop into a kitchen because it's like pretty much a kitchen anyway. It's just like
salt, fat, acid, heat is what you
need.
Go. And where do you find those? Probably in the workshop.
Salt for the de-icing. You've got
onlocks.
Grease for
it's just onlocks.
It is
deep cut.
Yeah. So that would be my thoughts about the kitchen in Moya. It's like if there isn't one already, then like clearly the maintenance bay.
All right. So what would you? Okay, you're coming off this planet. They've just been given a bunch of fresh food, so they've given some of those space yams and some shakloom jerky and probably some fresh stuff.
You'd start with the fresh shakloom, just like do a little stir fry with that.
Yeah, is that what you go for?
Cook up the yams, or maybe and then like do a little shakloom stir fry, and maybe with some herbs and spices.
That sounds nice.
Yes, I mean.
Okay. So challenge
shakloom omelette.
Shakloom omelette. No. Where'd you get the eggs, though?
I don't know.
All right, so that's your. Oh, come on, you're quite a good chef. Is there sort of a seafoody like dish, perhaps with a fun name? I'm thinking like vichyssoise, the cold fish soup. Because imagine if they don't have like a hot plate or a burner or whatever, and all you've got is your prism laser saw.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, if you don't have a hot plate or a burner, it's like cooking becomes like you go into sushi very quickly. And then you need something to cook the rice in. But I mean, Shakloombalaya.
I thought I was so sure I was going to call this episode "Coming to Hyneria," but no, coming in the last second is going to be Shakloombalaya. And that's the story so far, Farscape.
Yeah, we'll see you next week with episode number 115, which I don't have the...
No, I can tell you what that is. Durka returns.
Durka returns, yes. A collision with a Nebari ship brings a Nebari criminal named Shiana to Moya, along with the mentally cleansed Captain Durka, much to the surprise of Rigel.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to watching this one with you, Kay. I'm so excited. For the listeners at home, you can find us at SoFarscape on Twitter and Facebook and on SoFarscape.com. Do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good. Shakloombalaya is so good.